appeared on screen as everything from a pirate captain to the parent of a rodent to the President of the United States. But the first role that I ever played was a man. As a little girl back in the 60s, my best friend and I, after school, would act brave characters from TV westerns. That shows how old I am. Because I was tall, I would usually be the father, and she would be my son. And because we were young, we never noticed that it was strange that there were no female characters that we wanted to pretend to be on movies or TV. There were no women swashbucklers or sheriffs or adventurers or experts. And this happened to all of us when we were kids. We all were raised seeing shows and movies where there were very few female characters that we wanted to be like. There were some series with female characters. I Dream of Jeannie and Bewitched, for example, and they both had really cool superpowers. But if you think about it, almost every episode was about the men wanting them not to use their magic. This happened in like several of my marriages. So I spent most of my life, my adult life, advocating for women and girls, and in part by seeking roles that I thought were unique for a female character, where the female character gets to do something, where they're in charge of their own fate. And I've been really fortunate to see firsthand the effect that characters and stories have on people. I still have girls come up to me and say that they play softball or other sports because of seeing a League of Their Own. And in just one season of playing the president on a TV show, a study showed that people who were familiar with the show Commander-in-Chief were 58% more likely to vote for a female candidate for president. That's the impact of only 1 year. And lately, I'm spending a lot of my time working with entities like the UN, as an appointee to the California Commission on the Status of Women, as a board member of the White House Project, also with the Girl Scouts, and of course with my Gender and Media Institute. I started the Institute because I wanted the data on one very specific thing. How many female characters were there in entertainments, movies, and TV shows made for kids? See, when my daughter was 2 years old, she's 9 now, I started watching G-rated videos and little kids' TV shows with her. And with this spidey sense that I developed through my acting roles about women's presentations, I was absolutely floored to see, with notable exceptions like Dora, that there seemed to be far fewer female characters than male characters, and a great deal of stereotyping in the entertainments that were aimed at very young children. I checked with my friends. I said, did you notice that in that movie there was only one female character in the whole movie, except for, of course, the mother who dies in the first 5 minutes? And no one was noticing. So it occurred to me, as a mother, that in the 21st century, boys and girls should be seeing themselves share in the sandbox equally. And I wanted to talk to the creators of kids media about it, but I realized that I would need to have the numbers first instead of just my observations. So friends and I raised the money to sponsor the largest content analysis ever done on G-rated movies and children's television programs. This was conducted at USC's Annenberg School for Communication and Journalism by Dr. Stacy Smith, who's here today, and she's going to be on the film panel later on. The results of the study were stunning. The worldview that our culture is reflecting to children is very unbalanced. In G and PG films, for every one female character, there were 3 male characters. I want to point out that in preschool shows, particularly on PBS, they're doing much better than films that are aimed at kids that really are very close to gender balance and great representations. But in movies, first of all, the female characters who did exist were highly stereotyped and or hypersexualized, serving as same percentage of sexually revealing clothing as in R-rated movies. And in animated films, the female characters very often have waists so tiny, it's questionable whether they can actually support a spinal column. Certainly, they couldn't exist in real life. You know, I should have said that there was no improvement in the ratio of male to female characters because there was some. In fact, if we add female characters at the rate that we have been, we will achieve parity in 700 years. I say that's too slow. I say that we pledge today, cut that in half. So, what message are we sending to boys and girls at a very vulnerable age if the female characters are one-dimensional, sidelined, hypersexualized, or simply not there at all? That women's and girls' value is less to us than that of men and boys. And the message is sinking in. The more hours of TV a girl watches, the fewer options she thinks she has in life. And the more hours a boy watches, the more sexist his views become. By feeding our youngest kids a seriously imbalanced world from the very beginning, we're enculturating yet another generation to accept that women and girls are less important to our society than men and boys. So since that original study, we've conducted 18 studies, actually, Stacy has, and we've amassed the largest body of research ever done on gender in media, as I said, covering a 20-year span. Since 80% of the media consumed worldwide is created in the U.S., we are exporting these harmful images of women and girls around the globe. Just last week, a woman from Congo came up to me and asked why we were distributing such negative images of women to them. Why were we sending them Real Housewives of Beverly Hills from Congo? Media images, as all of you know, are a very powerful force in shaping how women are viewed around the world. The fact is, women are underrepresented or misrepresented across nearly all sectors of society, but for the most part, we simply don't notice. As I said, with the White House Project, this is a non-profit that seeks to increase the percentage of women in leadership positions in business and politics. And last year they released a benchmark report that looked across 10 sectors of society, academia, business, media, law, politics, etc., to find the percentage of women in those positions of leadership and authority. And the average across the board of all those 10 most important sectors of society was 18%. How can that be? All sectors of society level out at 18%. But that percentage is actually all around us if you look, and I'm sure you will now look. The number of women in Congress, for example, is 16%. The percentage of movie narrators is 17%. That's also the percentage of women in the Animators Guild. My body fat is 17%. It's weird, isn't it? But kids learn their value by seeing themselves reflected in the culture. Oh, there's somebody like me. There I am. I must be valuable. And by changing the cultural message that women are less important than men and girls are less important than boys, we will be able to empower women to reach their full potential. Adding women in leadership positions makes a difference on screen, in filmmaking, on television, and at every level of every industry. It's become universally acknowledged that raising up women has a tremendous impact on all of the world's problems. They certainly appreciate this at the UN with the MDGs. They know that raising up women will impact hunger, the environment, conflict, poverty. Empowering women is very important to all of us around the world. And it's time to make real change happen. There are so many roads to empowering women, and many people with a passion to make it happen. And all of us are seeking, in the end, the same goal: adding women and changing everything. I hope that all of you will join us in creating a sea change around the world in the status of women and girls by improving media images. Thank you so so much for being here, and I hope you enjoy the